This is the March meeting of the Richmond Amateur Radio Club, and great new work with our new devices, Al 360 devices. Works, but why don't we go ahead and start the business portion of our meeting? And I'm sure everyone has looked at the meeting minutes that were compiled by Army and reviewed them. And does anyone, excuse me, have any questions about the minutes from last month's meeting or comments? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion. Second. Second. All in favor? And we have our online people still all in favor of. So it sounds like the minutes are approved. Any old business anyone has to review? Any new business?
I just want to say one thing here. The people who are on Zoom should notice an obvious big difference in the presentation of the meeting. We have something called owls. There are 360-degree cameras, speakers, microphones. You should have better quality of all three. And I would love to have your feedback on how it looks, how it sounds. The one thing that it also automatically does is a panorama view, so you can quote unquote see the audience. So I'd love to have your feedback on what you think about it. And
if someone in the
people here too.
If someone in the room audience wants to address the meeting, how do they do that? Do they do a hand raise or do they
hand raise and let him recognize you, and then you
can I won't see them. I'm talking about in this part.
Oh, will recognize that they
so you'll see
raised a hand, or
we've asked that people in the Zoom audience please get our attention in the chat, just so we have it in writing. And then
you're monitoring that.
Yes, yeah.
And we also have a PA system to amplify my voice for this crowd or not?
No.
You're strong enough as it is.
You're my COVID did. So thank you to Ken for getting that going for us. I think we've been running with this for a long time, but this is pretty good technology we have here.
If someone does need to talk in the audience, aside like from just saying hi once I guess if we're going to do introductions, please actually stand up. Otherwise, I don't think the owls can see you very well. So,
okay.
That's the other thing.
Let's say it this way. Some of you might be seen from here up, okay?
Okay. Yeah, like we can't see Bruce very well, for example.
And Judy, she'll be right underneath of it.
Hey, legend.
We can kind of see Bill.
I'm right perfect if you.
No, I can see her up there. Looks like
If they need to adjust some microphone.
yeah, maybe Mike fixes that.
Oh, he's trying to take away my identity again.
I need the hair, so I didn't realize that.
So let's see. How about Bruce? Would you like to make an announcement about our schools?
Yeah. Thanks, I think, a lot for with Dan Bryant for doing. I think he hit like about 40 different places with postings and advertising, that sort of thing. He really did a whole bunch of stuff. And we're hoping that we can do fewer next time. We're trying to figure out from our students what was effective, so we don't do that much again. But we've got 16 people in tech. George is not here. His thing might get here tonight. But anyway, 16 people in tech. We've got 4 in extra. Is that right?
4 in extra.
I think we got either 4 or 5 in general. We had 4 in the remote statement, which so tech started last night. Generals on that Tuesday night. General started last night, and Wednesday night we started the remote hams one, which only has 2 sessions of that. So we've got a lot of filling up. I think we're going to probably make every one of our seminars and classes. So first time in a while we've done that. So Dan, you did a great job. So anyway, that's the
Big one. Anything on the repeaters, when?
You always keep my fingers crossed, all's working well.
Okay, so any other, I want to close the business part of the meeting.
We got the treasurer's report.
I cannot forget.
Okay, treasurer's report. We started the month with $19,834.46. We had, let's see if I can figure out what I did not summarize. Okay, we have for FCC classes, $462, which is 21 people. For seminars, we had $110, which is 11 people. For membership, we had 6 people at $132. So that was all the income, $704 coming in. We spent money. The good news is the owls aren't in this month, they'll be in next month. But we did spend for new locks on the storage room. Basically, it had a door that had a key slot that nobody had a key to. So anybody could get into there. And since the owls cost $2,500, we decided that we needed a lock that would actually lock the door. So it's a combination lock with a key. The church has the key, we have the combination. And we can change it at will. So the new locks cost $65.66. Bought a wireless mouse for the PC for $18.01. We bought some hardware that right now we're not going to end up using, some hangers for $15.57, and PayPal charged us $36.75 for all the people that used it. So that was $214.88, giving us a balance of $20,323.58. That's the treasurer's report. I have 3 new members. Adam Humphreys, KQ4OTH, who's an advance. I have John Smith, hopefully it's his real name.
The alias.
Yeah, KQ4OKP, who's also in advance. And Robert, I'm going to say Baskety. Something close to that, at least. BASKETTE. K4BWD, who's a general. Do I have a motion to accept the new members?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yes.
John's.
No.
I just call
I'll show it to you.
Oh, that's I'll send it to you.
Okay, sorry, is there anything else I forgot to do? For the business meeting? The business,
Just,
because we're gonna have other announcements subsequent.
okay, I want to know.
We get to find out the way first, as we get to the.
Okay.
Okay, have a motion to close the business meeting.
Motion.
Moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor? I probably did this backwards. We have one visitor tonight with us, Tom Hall. And I don't know if they call Tom, stand up for us. Okay, before each and so I'm ready. We'll go around with the names, then I guess we can get through. I guess a lot of the remote folks have the calls on that, but anyway, I'm Rick K. for which Jim.
Will, KA4RAC.
Ken, WB0L.
Flunker, KQ4GP. Dennis, K4DAF.
Bruce, W4BRU, see how fast it can move.
Tom, K4H&D.
Jeff, K4SYE.
Judy and for JDI.
Bill, N4WLC.
Joey, WJ3H.
Win, W4WIN.
Mike K4RPO.
John, KX4QC.
Tom, KG4BIZ.
In for DOB, Dan.
Armin, WA1UQO.
Now, do we want our remote people to say anything, or most of them have their calls up?
Yes, why don't we introduce them, and then Lauren also has a formal announcement, so why don't we do introductions and then come back to Lauren?
Okay, I'll let you handle it.
Yeah, all right, so if everyone could, let's see how to do this. I'm just gonna ask everyone to, if everyone could please unmute themselves, and then they can just, go and introduce themselves one. They can just stand back to address them, and Al will,
Okay, so how do we know who goes first?
I guess everyone can try and do that orderly. That would be appreciated.
Do it like a HF contest, right?
Right,
You just pass.
yes, exactly, like an HR contest.
Do it in phonetics.
Yes, no, in the past, that's gone well, it just kind of works. So however people want to try and introduce themselves, there's not many people on.
Well, we'll let Matt go first, because he's the senior person in the group.
What I suggest you do, Will, is that see who's in the picture and point to them, starting at the upper left-hand corner and go across rank and file. That's what I suggested, and not.
I did switch it, can you guys?
Who is out of there? Is that Matt?
Yes,
Matt. Go with Matt, and then go with Daryl, and then go with Lauren.
That's what I was gonna say, because normally, even if they have it in gallery view, it may come in a different sequence, like.
But you can see it when it's like that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, based on what you
This
see,
one, this one, this one.
right, just okay, because if you do it
Just call it.
all at one time, it's gonna be cacophony.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Or your screen won't get it.
Okay, for YEF, that's Matt.
He's not here necessarily.
Can't hear you.
I'm David, KO4 VEM.
All right, good, Jason.
I was gonna go Daryl. Daryl?
Daryl, WW4F.
Patrick?
3 Alpha Papa.
K4 PKB.
Lauren?
Say Lauren?
Yes.
Okay, Lauren, W4 LEW.
John B.
John Bennett. I'm located in Short Pump.
WB4NHX.
WB4NHX.
We need to figure out a better way to do this. Robert?
Bob, KG4ZIK.
William?
That's not William, that's Malin.
I'm Malin, N4EG.
I was like, that looks like Malin. Steve?
You're muted.
You're muted, Steve.
Muted, Steve.
I'm muted.
You can do it again, we'll read lips.
I think it's the thing, it's Steve.
There you go.
The audio's not working.
Well, we know who you are, Steve, so we're good. Steve.
Rick, in the past, I think when we've done this, is people have just talked and it worked.
Okay.
Yeah, so if people who haven't talked just want to introduce themselves, it's fine. People don't step on each other. So instead of me reading.
Kathleen, K5HTZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Bob Baskett, K4BWD.
Welcome to the club, Bob. We just voted you in.
Thank you, sir.
K4LQN.
Hey,
David. Come on, fellas. Two more.
I think we had.
Or IIA.
Great boy.
Oh, my.
Got David in there, I see you.
And then Nathaniel's.
Come on, Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, W1OLE.
And then one more. Next to Daniel.
Alpha Pack.
that what it said?
Ah,
W3AP.
Whiskey 3, Alpha Papa.
Here we go. Okay, is that everyone?
we max still, I don't know if you can use.
I'll find out.
All
Definitely.
right, I think that was everyone.
That's pretty good. All right.
And then Lauren had an announcement for us.
Go ahead with that.
Lauren, you wanna go ahead?
Sure.
Wait, hang on, so let me get her spelling off. All right, go for it.
Thanks. So, like maybe several of you in the room there, I belong to more than one radio club. And so I'm also a member of the Dominion DX group. And we wanted to invite you all or anyone that's interested to an upcoming program of our group that we think you might find interesting. The program will be on Saturday, March 23rd, begins at 9 a.m. out at Deep Run Recreation Center, which is off of Ridgefield Parkway out in the West End. We also have a Zoom link, and the presentation is going to be from a local ham here, Kenny Silverman, K2KW. And Kenny's been on several DXpeditions and is going to report to the group about what it's like to get involved in participating in a DXpedition. He's going to present on his efforts from Victor Papa 2, Victor Mike in the 2023 ARRL 10-meter contest. And so Kenny's a part of a group called Team Vertical. And they use verticals on the beach in some of these tropic locations to make their contacts. So it should be a real interesting presentation. I can send Armin the Zoom link, and Armin can make sure that gets into the minutes, and hopefully the minutes, well, I don't know that we see the minutes before March 23rd. So what's the best way to get the Zoom link? Or, you know, you're welcome to come in person to the Deep Run Recreation Center at 9 a.m. on March 23rd.
Zoom link be on their website?
Yes. So let's see that website, and John, you'll have to help me. It's ddxg.net, I believe. I'm going to look it up real quick and make sure that I'm giving you the right website. So,
or you can type in Dominion DX group into a search thing and it'll find it.
Yeah, it's ddxg.net. And I'll have to nudge the webmaster to get the March meeting information out there, as well as the Zoom link for the presentation.
You can at least put it in the chat, Lauren, in Zoom for now, I guess, okay. So we can see it up on the screen, and then you can have it for the Zoom people here.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, because we have the chat out right now, so.
Yeah, I've got to get it out of an email, cut and paste it, and so I don't want to keep everyone waiting while I do that, but I will put it in the chat momentarily.
Lauren?
Yes?
If you send it to me, I'll put it on our website as a featured presentation.
Well, I'll say this, before the meeting, I did email the details, Ken, to you and to Bruce McAllister and to Rick.
Super.
But I have a feeling it was too close to the meeting start time and nobody saw the email.
I saw it, but what I thought you were asking is if you wanted a program at our next meeting. I misunderstood what you said.
No, Rick, I sent you two separate topics. Yeah, this was after that. After that.
Okay. While we have you, Lauren, and I may be misquoting, but Lauren worked the Saipan contest of the weekend. I think she said for 30 hours and made 800 contacts. Is that right?
What? I'm sorry. How much did you say?
I think you told me 30 hours. Is that
30 hours? I scored about 625,000 points in the contest. Say that again.
800 contacts.
I think so. I'd have to go back and look, but it was a lot.
And Bruce, worked 45 countries, just on 10 meters.
Yeah, but I didn't do anything like she did.
I know.
I was gonna tell you, but now having heard that, I can't say the word, so. I do have a little story on that, I'll tell you in a second.
Let's see. I got something from, Armin from, David Ferris, K5NT. I don't know whether he's a club member or anyone knows David, but he is trying to help another fellow, KJ4IDN program, an ICOM B86, and apparently he's had difficulty doing it. Even when we're talking to ICOM and talking to HRO. So if anybody is familiar with that radio and can help them, I can give you this information. So any other announcements? Any other bragging or anything like that? Go ahead.
No bragging. The 10K is coming up on,
Do you want to stand up real quick so the camera?
You're good.
Could you stand up?
You're on there, you're showing up.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
okay, so as I was saying, April 20th is a 10K, and even inexperienced people can help. We always can use extra people. There's med sites, there's other locations we need. You can contact Jim Rubin at w4pkrl.net, and he'll get in touch with you and ship you something. If you're inexperienced, we'll have you with someone experienced. We try to do that each time, so you know, at least first time you got someone with you.
What's the date?
April 20th.
Okay.
So 10K.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Stand up.
I'm gonna stand up.
Stand up.
I'm not standing up. The next, let me get out of here. Where did I go? All right, so RATS has secured Laurel Park for March 16th for Virginia CUSO and March 17th. We will be there at Laurel Park at 10 a.m. hanging antennas and building antennas. And we will do the Virginia CUSO from 10 o'clock or so on until midnight. And then we will start again Sunday morning at 8 a.m. until we say we've had enough. That's the best answer I can give you. There is no food this time, so bring your own food. I think we'll have like some drinks like water, maybe some soda. Trying to think what else is going to be out there. Some of us might be out there all night long, just having fun partying, so. That's it.
And everybody's welcome.
Yeah, everybody's welcome. It's a joint venture between RARC. Well, we invite RARC.
Right.
We'll see. What's that? Elkins better be there.
All right. Anybody else have any announcements or anything?
We got show and tell.
Okay, go ahead, Bruce.
So I don't do contesting, but I like to make contacts because I grew up listening to shortwave and those kind of people way off there someplace. And now I can talk to them. That's neat. So anyway, we had a 10 meter contest about a month or two ago. And usually on 10 meters, I'm talking to people in Europe, and everything was west and north. And I thought, well, that's really strange. So I wonder if there's a way to map it. Well, it turns out there's a bunch of mapping programs out there. And you can take I'll pass it around, you can take your contacts, pull them off for that date, send them to this online thing, and it maps it. There's several mapping programs out here. And I didn't do anywhere near as well as Lauren did, contacting people on the BX single sideband one, but I got a map for that. So if you're interested, if you want to do that sort of thing, and you haven't done it before, it's kind of a neat way to do it. I was interested in 10 meters. I couldn't believe what I was getting, and I was getting like Saskatchewan around the West Coast, down in Mexico, down to Belize, where I usually go to Europe. So it must have been a cloud of ionosphere kind of sitting over the Mississippi or something, and everything going out that way, but it's really cool to kind of map it. There were several mapping programs, and this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one because it shows this swoop going over like the ionosphere. So you kind of imagine that it's actually showing the track of the signal. So anyway, it's a kind of fun thing to do. So if you do something like that and it gets interesting, just kind of take a look at mapping. And by the way, this is way 10 meters look on Saturday morning. I mean, you started at one end and went to the other, and it took me all morning just to work my way out, and it's exhausting. Because people are sitting there, right on top of each other. So I learned more about the band pass on my radio than I ever had before. So great fun. Anyway, this mapping is great.
Thank you, Bruce. Yes, sir. Anybody else have an announcement? Before we proceed to break, it's a tradition in amateur radio to recognize the passing of an amateur who's passed called a silent key, and it's fitting that the CW Morse code is SK, which is the final thing that you send at the end of a transmission. So we know that we lost John DeMeo recently, and so what I would like to do is go ahead and do an SK recognition for John, and I may be doing it the wrong way, but this is KA4HM calling K5HTZ. Calling K5HTZ. Calling K5HTZ. No response. K5HTZ, John DeMeo, silent key. Thanks.
Thank you.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break or so before we have a presentation from J.B. Edmonds in for NQY. It's going to talk to us about isomers.
For those of us joining from home, if you go up in the upper right-hand corner and click on the speaker view for a little bit, I'm going to do a little show and tell before we get into the slide presentation or whatever. Keeps from jumping back and forth between screens. This is a hotspot. This happens to be an all-star hotspot, and it is active. And we will actually use it in a little while, demo it a little while. Another thing that I want to show is what makes up a hotspot for the typical hotspot. One is a transceiver board, and the second is a Raspberry Pi. And if you mount the board on top of a Raspberry Pi, you have a fully functional repeater, personal repeater. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is how to use these hotspots of personal computers. If I can, let's see, I think I can share my screen here. And we'll get started. As Rick already said, I'm J.B. Edmonds. And who am I guess? First of all, I'll give a shout out to Bob Basquette. Haven't seen you in a while, Bob. Good to see you at the club. And I'm an extra class licensee. I like contesting. I like RIDI. I like digital contacts. I do QRP. My main radio is a Flex 6300, and I have a Tentec Eagle that I use as a backup and has knobs and lights and all that sort of stuff. And I'm pretty much a computer geek. Been one all my life, and that's where my all my work experience has been over the years. First of all, what is a hotspot? I sort of told you before, but it's a personal repeater that's connected to the internet. And some people will say, well, that's not real ham radio. But we go through a lot of phases during our ham radio careers, and everybody likes something different. But the typical hotspot or repeater consists of a Raspberry Pi from a Pi 0 up to a Pi 4 or a 5, a low-powered transceiver board on UHF or sometimes VHF, and it's also that you can use it is a repeater control board. You need a couple of antennas, a antenna or two antennas, an operating system for the Raspberry Pi, which is typically Linux for a hotspot, and a collection of software packages. Today we'll focus on Pi-Star a lot. That's the most popular operating environment for the hotspot. But the software allows control of that transceiver board. It encodes and decodes signals that come in and out of it and connects the hotspot to the internet. This is a $25.88 eBay hotspot kit. Furnish your own Pi. Case, the transceiver board, an antenna, some screws to put it all together, and if you can go to Adafruit for $16. You can get yourself a Pi 0W, which this particular board was really made for. And let's see, that's $41 total investment for a hotspot kit. On the other hand, you can also go to Ham Radio Outlet, the HRO, and pay $179 for practically the same thing. And these hotspots run anywhere from $40 to $250. Here's my collection of hotspots that I laid out on the table just to take a picture of. They come in all shapes, sizes, and whatever. The ever popular Zoom spot here in the middle, the jumbo spot, which is the eBay special, and some all-star hotspots and some other hotspots that I just happen to have in the collection here. And for purposes of the talk tonight, and I'm pretty much going to try to get through to demo rather than to spend a lot of time on some of these slides. But if I say repeater or reflector or talk group or room, I'm talking about the same thing. They are interchangeable. Just if you are a Fusion guy, you talk about rooms. If you're a DMR guy, you talk about talk groups. If you're D-Star, you talk about reflectors. It's all the same thing in the final end. So the purpose of a hotspot, and we'll talk about that in a use case. It's allow hams to talk across town or across the world from a handheld, mobile, or stationary radio. It provides you a 24-hour-a-day super repeater system where you have total control over your repeater mode. Now, it also takes advantage of the internet to enhance ham radio. Even our normal repeaters, D-Star repeater or DMR repeaters in town, or even the analog repeaters, many of them are linked via the internet these days. In times past, we used RF linking. Today, everybody uses internet linking. I won't say everybody, but almost everybody. And some people question why are hotspots on VHF or UHF, not on HF. UHF and VHF is where the bandwidth is. And also, there's commercial equipment available to buy for these bands at fairly low cost. Some use cases. Technician class licenses have VHF and UHF privileges, and so if with modest equipment, they can talk around the world without tying up a repeater, and repeaters are fairly local anyway. There are also hams that find themselves in HOA situations. I live in an HOA community myself. I have a fairly decent HF station as long as I can live with my antennas in the attic. Or you live with relatives. You know, we get to that age where you're in one situation or the other. This allows you to continue to enjoy ham radio with a very modest station, an HT, a box connected to the internet, no outdoor antennas, and you can still stay in touch with your ham radio friends and meet some new ones. There's an abundance of digital ham radio networks. They're regional and sometimes local and accessible to anybody with a hotspot. And typically they are, ones of specific for IMCOM, Skywarn, Search and Rescue, and whatever time. One of the things we'll talk about tonight is Brandmeister, which has caused a surge in hotspots over the years. At any given time, it has many, many repeaters and hotspots. If I can quickly switch screens here for a second. This is real-time Brandmeister. their dashboard. There are 6,475 repeaters connected to Brandmeister, which means they're accessible to you with a hotspot. And there are 17,995 hotspots connected to the Brandmeister network at the moment. And that's up-to-date information there. So popping back over to the slide presentation here, a lot of these Brandmeister talk groups are very special interest oriented. Skywarn, astronomy, Greek hams, trucking, RV hams, a lot of hams with similar likes get together and find a place on Brandmeister or one of the other networks to gather and to talk and chat and whatever, just like you do on your on the regular local repeater. Here's some of the ham radio digital networks that a hotspot can connect to. In the DMR ones, if you're a DMR person, Brandmeister, TGIF, and DMR Mark, Chicagoland. PRN is the North Carolina statewide network that is very, very popular. In D-Star, you've got DCS, REF, RF, and XLX reflectors, which serve the same purpose pretty much as these other networks. In the Fusion world, you have YSF, FCS, and WiresX. And because WiresX is sort of proprietary to Yaesu, not all of the rooms in WiresX are easily accessible with a hotspot, but many are. And there's also networks for P25 and next-gen users if you happen to have P25 radios. I have a couple, but they don't serve much purpose in Richmond with no P25 repeater. But on the other hand, with my hotspot, if I wanted to connect to other P25 users, all I need to do is change the mode on my hotspot over to P25, and I can connect and talk to others. Some other ham radio networks, there's an All-Star network. All-Star is basically for analog repeaters, analog radios and repeaters. The others we talked about tend to be digital radio oriented. And some of the repeater oriented networks, rather than being hotspot oriented, DMR Virginia, which is a network of 15 DMR repeaters across the state. It now includes the Hospital Emergency Amateur Radio System HERES. They have 23 repeaters in Southwest Virginia and Northern North Carolina that's part of the network. And some of those repeaters can also be accessed with Fusion and P25. Another repeater-oriented net is Alabama Link. We'll take a look at their dashboard in a little bit. Also, it's a hub that ties together RF repeaters that are analog, D-Star, DMR, Fusion, P25, and All-Star, and also hotspots. And these are accessible to any ham. I mean, if you have a hotspot, you can go use the Alabama Link network and talk to many, many people who are usually Alabama natives. There's also a network called Sky Hub, which consists of 63 interconnected repeaters in Colorado and southern Wyoming, also accessible with a hotspot. And it's accessible through All-Star DMR, IRLP, Echolink, M17, and just a VoIP telephone. So there are lots of ways to connect to these repeater networks, and hotspot is one of them. Hotspot's usually universal. Everybody supports a hotspot, and there's a way in for you. And before hotspots, repeaters linked with RF, and we said that before. There was IRLP and Echolink and All-Star even in the days before hotspots. And these were primarily analog-based modes and analog networks, and were sometimes linked through RF and telephone lines. When we got to the internet being commonly available, some of these still exist, but not near as popular as they were in past years, with the exception of probably All-Star. I'm going to gloss over some of, as I said, some of these to get on with more of a demo and give you a little more information. This is sort of the origin of the hotspot. It came into existence somewhere around 2009 and has it developed over time into what it is today. Jonathan Naylor, the father of the hotspot, basically started off with D-Star, trying to, we'll say, reverse engineer ICOM's D-Star network. He then, after conquering that, moved on to DMR and P25 and other modes. And the actual hardware for the hotspot came from KI6ZUM, the Zoom spot as it's popularly called. These allowed this equipment that these folks put together around 1915 allowed hams to create a personal simplex repeater using the Jonathan Naylor's software. Wasn't packaged very well, but you could get it working if you wanted. Like I say, it kept growing through 2018 and sort of matured in 2018 with just about all of the digital modes added to the hotspot. And also, around that time, also the Germans came through with Brandmeister. We looked at the Brandmeister dashboard a few minutes ago, but it really brought hotspots into the forefront of the hobby. The advent of cheap Chinese radios, digital radios, helped at that point in time too. The problem in 2017 is you really needed to be a computer geek to put the hotspot together. And the equipment was cheap, but the know-how wasn't quite as there yet. The hotspot as we know it today really came about in 2017 or so, when an English ham just created Pi-Star. Pi-Star is nothing more than the user interface to a lot of software. Try to keep the ham from having to be very, very knowledgeable with Linux and the actual software packages. It's a turnkey operating environment for a Raspberry Pi that implements all the digital modes and also analog modes that you might want to have. It's downloadable as a Pi image. You can load it on anything from a Pi 0 to a Pi 5. Obviously, the more powerful Pi you have, probably the better it runs, but it actually works fairly well on a Pi 0. It's updated every night, so if you have a hotspot and you leave it connected to the internet, it will update itself every night, somewhere in the middle of the night. A lot of repeaters use Pi-Star as a repeater controller because it has all of the tools necessary to actually create a controller, a repeater ID, timers, the push to talk and things like that that you really need to have to do that. You can buy turnkey hotspots from eBay and Ham Radio Outlet, Amazon also, if you want to go to Amazon. They come in all shapes and sizes, and I showed you a few. They vary from $40 to $240. They all work exactly the same way. All of them use Jonathan Naylor software. All of them, 95+% use Pi-Star as the operating environment. What you're paying for is the difference in hardware. And so the more you pay, the nicer the hardware and the prettier it looks. And it has a color screen, and where maybe the $40 one may or may not have that. Some of you may have heard of something called an open spot. It's a very proprietary hotspot. It does use the same software, but the user interface is very proprietary, and it has some additional features that are unique to that particular piece of hardware. There has recently come about a spin-off of Pi-Star called MPSD. It's a updated user interface. It is, I say, the best way to describe it, I think. It's stable, but it's not quite ready for prime time. I'll demo it later. I run it on a Pi 4. I have run it on Pi 0, but it is pretty laggy on some of the lower end hardware. I think that it will get better over time. but it has Pi-Star has all of the same features like I say, MPSD. It just has a different interface, user interface. To get Pi-Star going, and I'm going to provide this deck in a PDF form to the club that you can get hold of, or you can email me and I'll send you a copy, whatever you'd like to do. I'm good on QRZ and N4NQY at ARRL. To get going, what you need is the hardware. Whether you buy the kit from eBay or whether you buy a full-blown package from HRO or one of the other resellers, and you basically download Pi-Star, and there's plenty of instructions on the internet how to get started. Burn that image that you download to a SD card, stick it in the hotspot, and power it on. Once you do that, you can use your browser on your computer to connect to the hotspot, and it will lead you through entering your call, what modes you're going to use with the hotspot. That depends on what kind of radio you have. You need a DMR ID. Even if you're not going to work DMR, you need to go to radioid.net and register for a DMR ID. You sort of need to have it. You also need to know the type of modem board in your hotspot. MMDVM_HS is the most popular one, but in the most common one, that's what the Chinese knockoffs all use. But there are some other choices if you, depending on what particular board you might happen to have. Some of the Zoom spots have their own modem type in Pi-Star. You also have to pick up simplex frequency to use for your hotspot. Since most of these hotspots are on 440, you just need to make sure you stay away from the satellite portion of the band, and also stay away from the repeater frequencies that are in use around town. You don't want to interfere with the repeater, so pick something that's sort of unique. Typically, 438.3 or something like that is something that's not going to interfere with anybody. One other thing you need to know is if you're going to use DMR, you need to set your Brandmeister master to be Brandmeister_3102. There are several Brandmeister servers across the U.S. People in this particular part of the country all use 3102. There are also a lot of other configuration options, and we'll take a look at them in a couple of minutes, but they have for location, and you can enter all these at your leisure whenever you get around to it. Nothing you have to do. The most common problem you will run into with your new hotspot is that there's something called a bit error rate. And the bit error rate makes the signal sound like mud or digital hash. And it's because every radio is slightly off frequency. Close, but off frequency. And you need to adjust your hotspot for that. Sometimes your board comes pre-configured to the best frequency spread. Sometimes you have to recalibrate it. So Pi-Star includes a calibration program. You can also do it manually by changing the transmit offset and the receive offset in the configuration up and down until you get a low BRER, bit error rate. And there's a color code. Red means bad and green means good. And when you get in the green, leave it wherever it's at. Usually those two are the same number. And as I say, most of the time, your hotspot, when you get it, will already be set to the best that it can be. And sometimes it depends. It gets out of whack, I guess. I'd like to switch and show you now some more live information. Switch back over to the Brandmeister screen, and want to get rid of some things here. Okay. Gotta move this a little bit so that I can get to the different things. This is the Pi-Star digital dashboard. This is my Pi-Star hotspot. It's connected right now to a room called America Link. And there are 1,000 of these rooms, but this particular one is America Link. And as you can see from 4 this afternoon, this is GMT, 4 to 0103. This has been the activity on this room. These are the people you can see up here in red. WW4SC is actually transmitting at the moment. And I'm evidently talking to some group here in the on that room. If you have a Fusion radio, this is a YSF, and this is my Fusion dashboard, my Fusion hotspot. If you have a Fusion radio like an FT70 or an FT2 or 3 or one of the mobiles, you can tune it to your hotspot frequency and you can participate and you can monitor what's going on in any of these rooms. And the dashboard shows you basically some information about your hotspot. It's a Raspberry Pi model. It's a Raspberry Pi 3. Tells you what the CPU temperature is in case you don't want to burn it up. And the modes that are enabled in my particular case is YSF, which is Fusion, and YSF cross mode, which is handy sometimes to do a YSF to DMR in my case. The network, it's connected to the YSF network. And down here, it tells me what frequencies I'm on, what version of the hotspot software I have. And down here, it tells us I'm on USA-America-Link is the network that I'm connected to. Also shows me my DMR ID and what master I'm connected to. So that's information that is nice to be able to see on the screen at a glance. You have, at the top, you have menus that you can go to. You just go to configuration. This is all the configuration items in the Pi-Star. And so here are all the modes you can select if you wish to use them on your hotspot. Here's where you set your general configuration, your frequency, your location, what kind of radio board you have in the hotspot, and also the information on the network, and also how to connect to your network. Mine is connected via wireless Wi-Fi. The other things you can do here in the menu, you can update manually, you can power cycle the equipment, you can back up the hotspot, you can do a factory reset if you really want. You can calibrate your hotspot, and you can go directly to the dashboard. I usually leave mine on admin and just monitor what's going on. If I see something I want to jump into, I can do that. Now, just as a follow-on, this is my DMR dashboard for my DMR hotspot, and I run 4 or 5 hotspots here, all of them in a closet someplace, except for the one I brought out tonight to sit on the desk. But they're in a closet and connected to my home network via Wi-Fi or Ethernet. But right now I'm connected to Virginia talk groups on DMR. You can see KD4, WMX, the last person on the Southwest Virginia talk group, which is 31513. I've memorized that, so I know that's Southwest Virginia. And he wasn't on very long, so maybe he just got on the through at his call to see if anybody was around. The configuration looks the same. I just use different colors for the different modes. So this hotspot is also connected to the TGIF network, and it actually is connected to a couple of 3 networks all at the same time, and sort of just monitors what's the activity that's going on. in case I look at the dashboard and see some people that I'd like to talk to or activity. I can link and unlink to different talk groups from here. That the Brandmeister manager, I put in what talk group I'd like to connect to, and say modify, and it will connect me to that particular talk group. The same thing takes place over here on the YSF one, and you can change your reflector, the YSF reflector. I'm an American Link right now. I usually stay to VA Digital is the one I usually hang out on, and I can switch back to that if I would like. I mentioned a little bit earlier that there is a alternative to Pi-Star these days called WPSD, and I run that for my dashboard, my software for my D-Star hotspot. And so this is what the dashboard looks like for that one. Some people say it's prettier, and it does have some features that are nice. Much of the same information. But on this particular hotspot, it's running on a Pi 4, and I run D-Star, Fusion, DMR, M17, all on the same hotspot. And I didn't turn on P25 because my P25 radio is in a drawer someplace. But it's connected to all of these networks. If you look down the status here, the D-Star is not linked at the moment, but there are other networks here. It's Brandmeister it's connected to. It's also connected to XLX 497, which is Jim Bates's reflector. It's XLX reflector. I could, let's see, try to find something that we could show. Okay, I just connected to 30 Charlie on D-Star. Just grabbed the mic and did a connect for that. So I am now connected to 30 Charlie, and I don't hear anybody on, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. You know how demos go, the best of intentions, but I figured 30 Charlie would be particularly active tonight, but it doesn't appear to be. And well, can't find a D-Star reflector that's particularly active at the moment. But that's my D-Star reflector, my hotspot, and I use it most Wednesday nights to check into the D-Star net. Works very nicely on D-Star, quite honestly. But it's under the covers. It's the same software that's on a Pi-Star hotspot. It's just a different user interface. Looking at just to show you that some of the differences. Have to log in, I guess. This is similar configuration. You can see here, it just looks a little different. The same information is here that's entered to do your configuration. Pretty much the same options available for you from a menu. If I could go to, let's see, the D-Star manager. It just allows me to easily link or unlink to other reflectors or whatever. Okay, so if you heard that probably, and we are now connected to 097 Alpha in D-Star mode. Looking at some other options here, so if you look at, for instance, I'm going to use the let's have to remember these numbers by heart here, but I'm going to go to my all-star hotspot. I just connected my all-star hotspot to the Williamsburg repeater, and you may can hear it in the background. I'll disconnect it, so I won't bother those folks there, but this comes in handy. I like to check into the 9 o'clock in the morning net in Williamsburg. They have a coffee and talk net that runs at 9 o'clock every morning, 7 days a week. I guess it's 365 a year, and they usually have a topic of conversation every morning, and I like that net, and I check into it regularly via All-Star. So I make good use of my All-Star hotspot for that. Some of the other places that I can check into here, there's a Richmond All-Star node. Check into Charlottesville if I wished. So that connects me to the Charlottesville node. Nobody in Charlottesville talking at the moment, but it connects to the repeater in Charlottesville. Most All-Star nodes are actually on a repeater. There are a lot less All-Star hotspots or nodes that are not connected to repeaters. A lot less of those, and I happen to have one. They're no more expensive than a Pi-Star node or hotspot. It's analog only, and it only works on the All-Star network. A Pi-Star it's primarily a digital hotspot, but no matter whether you have a DMR radio, a Fusion radio, a D-Star radio, any type of digital radio, Pi-Star will connect you to many networks and many talk groups or groups of people as you go through, and it's very, very easy to use. Switch back for a second here. I just share my other screen. I had to find my PowerPoint presentation. Back to the main screen. Probably people have some questions. Didn't give you much of a break to ask questions, but certainly willing to answer any you might have concerning hotspots or show you anything that you might have missed seeing earlier. So, again,
thank you, JB.
I can stop sharing, I guess, if at this point, and maybe we have some questions either in the dashboard or.
Any of our Zoom audience has a question for JB?
Yeah.
The Zoom audience. The remote audience. Anybody in the remote audience have a question for JB? I don't see any hands up. Have you seen anything, Will?
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask him to chat real quick.
We'll get to you in a second. We'll get to you in a second. We're checking JB to see if any of our remote people have questions. And then we'll get to the studio audience.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions for JB, can you put your name in the chat real quick, and then we can recognize you. Going once, going twice. Okay, I guess we'll come to the room.
Right, Dwayne, did you have a question for JB?
Yeah. The link for the $25 Pi-Star kit.
Yes. That kit's on eBay, and if you go to eBay on your computer and just search for MMDVM. You'll see just tons of them. The one thing to look out for is most all of them do not include the Pi, the Raspberry Pi. So that you will have to acquire elsewhere. The Pi 0W, which is okay for most of those hotspots, especially a $25 kit, you can get from Adafruit for $16. You want to get the W model, the one with the Wi-Fi, but they have it in stock and it's $16. Pies are becoming more readily available. So for $40, you can have everything you need to build your own hotspot.
So I have a question.
Sure.
You have a bunch of the hotspots, and I know there was some capability for cross mode operation, yes. But let's say you only have, I have a DMR and I have a D-Star radio. Is it possible with just one hotspot to operate cross mode to cover D-Star, DMR, and Fusion, or are there compatibilities? In other words, does everyone need to have as many as you do?
Well, there are a couple of different ways to do that. The one difficult item is D-Star, because D-Star is a different type of encoding, but DMR and Fusion will typically cross mode to any other digital mode other than D-Star. Now, it's possible to do D-Star also, but you need additional hardware. Most of the people who want to do cross mode like that will do it through an XLX reflector. Jim Bates' XLX 497 reflector can do all the digital modes and cross and encode and decode them so that anybody on D-Star can talk to anybody on DMR or Fusion or whatever. It's immaterial. It's all treated the same. So if you want to do that, you need to utilize a XLX reflector to do that, or you'll need to buy some additional hardware to do the cross mode to D-Star. But
I know this
is modes are very easy to accomplish.
A bit off topic, but if you had a modern D-Star radio like an IC 9700, you could program that for the reflector you talked about, or something else would be required.
If you have a modern D-Star radio, you should be able to program it to any reflector, XLX, REF, or any DCS reflector. Typically, you can download the complete list of all the reflectors and what information you need to enter in order to put them into your radio, if they're not already automatically downloaded.
Anybody else have questions for JB? Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So is my understanding that you would take like an HT or something, talk to the unit that you have in your house. It goes by internet to say that repeater in Williamsburg and puts it out over there in Williamsburg. Is that how that works?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just have an FT70 Yaesu radio. It's a fusion radio, HT, and I use it with my hotspot to check into the Williamsburg repeater. That's the only pieces of equipment I use to do that check-in. I need the radio and I need a hotspot and a connection to the internet.
JB, question from the Zoom audience. Can you bring up the difference between a hat and the actual Pi device?
Difference between what? I'm sorry.
The RF hat and the Pi device. You showed the two. Probably just show it again.
I'm not sure which what
I think
you're asking for.
Did you want to?
The Pi is a little computer, and the hat is something that sticks on top of it. That sticks into the GPIO ports. It's just it's an accessory for the.
Let me switch around. So.
I guess I'm dense. I still don't quite remember what you're looking for.
JB, you showed us in the beginning. You showed us a Pi, and you showed us a hat. You showed how they went together. I think you want to see it again.
Okay.
And I think the specific question. I don't know who. Is it? How do you pronounce it?
Hi there. Sorry, I was getting the.
I have two pieces, two different hats for the pie. This one is the comes with the $25 kit. It was designed for the Pi Zero, but it can go on any pie. And you just make the.
Can you hold them up?
And plug it in.
Can you hold them up with Larry and Stevie?
Pardon?
Yeah, and this is Martise. I was actually, I think I made this inquiry because I figured that maybe the audience may not have experience with pies and know that the thing that's on the left is the hat and the thing on the right is actually the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, this is the transceiver, radio transceiver. That's a hat that goes on top of the mates to the Raspberry Pi. What I'm showing is basically a Raspberry Pi Model 3. Doesn't matter which model it is. The connector on them is exactly the same no matter which model you have, and the hat, or in our case the transceiver, just plugs into the Raspberry Pi. The other version that I have has two antennas, and it does the same thing. It just mates to the Raspberry Pi, push them together. It's connected, and once that's done, you have a complete hotspot. And you probably should put it in a case, but on the other hand, I've run many of them just like this, no case, just plug power in and put two antennas on the top, and you have a working hotspot. So that's the two pieces that you need for the hotspot: the actual Raspberry Pi and the transceiver. It's basically a radio a transceiver minus the operating parts. It has the transmitter and receiver and the antenna connections. The rest of the work is done in the Raspberry Pi.
So I think Martise's point was, like, to clarify, when you're actually buying the two, that like the Pi is like essentially a little computer. If no one's ever bought them, like when you're going to actually, like if you go on Amazon or whatever to look for the parts,
yes.
that.
Yes, I guess I'm assuming most people know what a Raspberry Pi is, but it is just a microcomputer. It's a mini computer on a board. It comes in five models, I guess. The Pi 0, Pi 2, Pi 3, Pi 4, and Pi 5. And as far as using them for a hotspot, any will work. Obviously, the higher end ones will work better, but the very lowest end Pi 0, which is the $15 version of the Raspberry Pi, will work just fine as a hotspot.
Any other questions for JB before we let him go? All right, well, thank you very much, JB. That was what our interest in this topic, and I think we have a lot to learn, but it sounds very interesting. So,
even if I got this slide.
yes, he said he would. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight's meeting. Thanks for coming, everyone.
As I said, anybody who would like to can email me if you have more questions, and I'll send the presentation to Bruce or Rich or somebody, and they can distribute it if they like it, and I'll be happy to get a copy and answer any questions via email if anyone would like to ask them.
We can put it on. We can put it on the website so you can find it.
Okay.
Just generic reminder for everyone, because I've been in contact with Newham lately. Not everyone is aware of like what a Raspberry Pi is, what some people may think are rudimentary things are. There's a Newham that's recently joined the club who's very interested in things, but so I think if people ask those questions, they may not know the answer because they're new, and we've had some new people that are, we get new people in the club who, don't just assume that.
We have
an old person that don't know what.
Thank you.
We have folks in the club that have a lot of expertise. So if you're aware of someone who needs some Elm Ring, just point them in the right direction. Ask me, I don't know, but I can point you in the right direction.
No, but my my point is the comment was made, you know, a lot of people probably know what a Raspberry Pi is. That's not necessarily true. So I think that's why Martise.
Okay, well, we could do a section on Raspberry Pis and ham radio.
No, that's not my point. My point is the comment was made. A lot of people know that. I'm like, that's not inherently true.
Okay,
So, yeah.
point taken.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, we're good.
Yeah.
Make